Is it advisable to consume something before working out? In short, the answer is yes. In this video, we're going to dig into the scientific evidence to learn how much, when, and what foods we should eat before performing the 10 different types of bicep curls. Hello, we're Fitness Friendly, and we create health and fitness information to support your goals and improvements. Even if eating before exercising can be beneficial, we need to first discuss priorities. So, before implementing the advice in this video, focus on the bigger picture of your total nutrition. This entails getting the number of calories you require to achieve your individual goals, eating largely wholesome nutritional meals, and getting an adequate amount of protein. The time since your last meal is another important factor to think about. In particular, the information in this video is significantly more applicable if you exercise first thing in the morning or train while fasting. Numerous studies, many of which I've addressed in previous videos, suggest that training while fasting can have really detrimental effects on your performance as a whole. Additionally, even though training while fasting increases fat burning during exercise, none of this matters if your total nutrition isn't in order. Additionally, you may exercise longer and harder while you're fed, which increases fat loss over the long term. More crucially, though, it allows you to enjoy larger servings of German chocolate cake ice cream during your cheat meals. Very crucial. Eating something a little closer to training still makes sense for people who eat 4 to 6 hours before. Having established our priorities, let's begin by talking about the macronutrients that will benefit us before exercising. Carbohydrates, particularly for endurance and training to exhaustion, are the macronutrient that consistently benefits from being eaten prior to exercise. This is consistent with how we see our energy system. Glycogen, one of the primary energy sources our body uses, is often reduced during a prolonged fasting period and after activity. Carbs replenish this energy storage. When we combine the pre-workout carb benefits with the macronutrient protein, they're even more beneficial. Again, studies have shown that consuming carbs and protein instead of simply carbs alone can extend a subject's duration until tiredness by as much as 40%, a really significant jump. However, resistance training, such as lifting weights, really defies this. However, the research focuses more on internal or mechanistic outcomes and less on performance and muscle growth. There is some evidence that pre-exercise carbs or carbs with protein are advantageous. However, pre-exercise protein has also demonstrated to increase muscle protein synthesis and decrease muscle breakdown during exercise, although this claim is still debatable. Again, consuming enough protein overall during the day is much more crucial, and doing so effectively negates the majority of the advantages of protein before exercise. Bigger picture prevails in this case. Fat is the least significant macronutrient. The effects of pre-exercise fat ingestion on performance and gains are generally neutral. There is some evidence that greater fat oxidation, or burning more fat during exercise, occurs. Once more, any significance that your overall nutrient intake might have overrides any pre-exercise fat intake. So the best combination is carbs and protein. It can also take almost any form, including solids, such as raisins or jelly beans, liquids, such as sports drinks, or even gel, such as fuel gels, and still be beneficial. When it comes to when, some studies suggest that eating 30 minutes before exercise is probably optimal. However, the data set is quite tiny, so this conclusion should not be taken as gospel. In my perspective, being sufficiently near to training is acceptable, and still preferable than training when fasting. Aim for between 15 minutes and 2 hours before your workout is a decent window of time. Approximately 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates and 3 to 6 grams of protein per serving seem to be the optimum or most realistic range for enhancing performance. It's okay to occasionally receive a little less or more. However, attempt to eat 3 hours prior to exercise if you intend to have a larger, more substantial meal. Otherwise, not terrible with 30 grams of carbs and 6 grams of protein. And for those who are curious, supplements like pre-workouts and caffeine might undoubtedly be beneficial. If you're interested in learning more about that, I'll include a couple links to my films addressing those in the description. Concerning worries, everything we just talked about should generally be all right, barring any personal health problems. However, if you personally struggle with eating before working out, you should just avoid it and instead concentrate on covering that broad picture that we previously described. In conclusion, eating protein and carbohydrates is probably ideal for all forms of training, but it is especially effective for long or endurance exercises. The ideal eating window is 30 minutes prior to exercise, but you should always pay attention to how your stomach feels at different times. Finally, aim for 3 to 6 grams of protein and between 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates. A little bit more or less is acceptable, but if you're planning a full supper, increase that interval to 3 hours. Now, it's okay if you still want to train without eating first. Just be sure that you're getting enough nutrition overall. And repeat that loudly for the hungry fasting people in the rear. And that concludes your pre-workout meal plan. Proteins and carbohydrates are recommended. I'm hoping that this video will assist you with your pre-workout snack, and it'll help get you one step closer to mastering that 11th bicep curl variation. Please share this video with your bicep-loving friends if you found it to be entertaining and eatable. Follow for more, and as always, I appreciate your time and interest, and please remember to eat some protein with your carbohydrates.